Welcome back to the Code to Cure Ainnocence webinar series, where we unpack the tools and technologies shaping the future of biotech. So today, our topic is what biological foundation models means for drug discovery industry. My name is Roger Wang, and with me again is Dr. Pan, the CEO and founder of Ainnocence.
Excited to be here. This is a topic that's transforming the field faster than many realize.
So, this session is pre-recorded, but we are watching the comments. So if you have something that's interesting or sparked your curiosity, then you want to share with us, feel free to leave a note, and we would love to hear from you. And we might actually address them in the next video. Now let's get started with the basics. When people say biological foundation models, what do they actually mean? Can you elaborate more, Dr. Pan?
Yes, absolutely. So, first of all, foundation model is a term in the AI field that has widely been defined in different domains. But in biology, particularly speaking, is we're using, for example, DNA sequence and protein sequence that is even without any label to do a unsupervised learning on a large quantity of those data and to lay in a foundation of the model that be able to learn the features of those we call this the sequence informations of these biological molecules and to support the upper layers application. Uh, yeah, so in general, it's a pre-trained model with unlabeled biologic data, primarily are protein and DNA or RNA sequences.
That makes sense. But I think we also heard the traditional computational model in biology. How are those foundation models different from those traditional computational models?
Yeah, definitely. So, first of all, foundation model are to support the basically AI modeling of the biologic entities such as proteins, genes, and other molecules. And it's completely machine learning based philosophy, let's say that. But in the past, to compute biologic systems, we have different type of models rather than AI and machine learning model. We have like biophysics model that is basically using quantum mechanics, molecular dynamics, those physics functions to model the atoms and molecule behaviors of the biologic system. And sometimes we use models such as finite element and other type of coarse-grained models to model in larger scales of the biologic models from a physics perspectives. However, foundation model and any AI model are completely different branch of biology, mostly are laid on the theoretic foundation of bioinformatics, which we only take the information perspective of biology rather than the physics perspective of biology, and trying to, make sense of those information in the biological function and activity side. That.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's more advanced than the traditional model. So can you give us some snapshot examples of where those biological foundation models are actually being applied in the industry right now?
Yeah, so it has actually been widely used in, let's separate it in two domains. First is let's talk about protein. So there's companies such as Google, Facebook, and many other academic groups that have been leverage foundation model of protein sequences, which they lay basically learn using a language model to model the entire nature's protein sequences. And now on top of that, they can predict such as a protein folding, protein function, protein interaction on top of that, and also be able to create generative model to design completely novel artificial protein sequences that is not exist in nature. And then on the other hand, those DNA foundation model are, for example, one institute in California, they released two models. One is the EVO and EVO 2, which they learned most all the genome information of many species and human, and then be able to predict many behavior on the genome level, such as design completely new DNA code that could change the cellular behavior or could also create new type of bacteria for certain function, predict the CRISPR-Cas9 like their positions on the DNA. So those are, also very advanced in terms of really understanding our human genome, which even we already sequenced them, but not being able to fully understand their individual functions. And then another type is the cell foundation model that's also been recently released by Arc Institute called the State. In that model, they basically learned at the single cell sequencing result to kind of mimic the virtual cell behaviors and be able to understand the cellular behavior for any type of perturbation being applied to the cell. So those are all biologic foundation model, but the focus of subjects is slightly different. But they can really answer a lot more questions in molecular and cellular level than any of the model has been created in the past. So I would say this is actually a big move in the biology field that we go so far that be able to eventually decode the how life is being generated and comes to life, and also to really understand the central dogma of life science.
Got it. So I think the next question is there a way we can quantify the improvement of those foundation models compared with the traditional model? Like, can you give us some examples where those models have actually made a measurable impact?
Yeah, so I would say most of the impact this model is being made is qualitatively. It's like we be able to really answer question we are not be able to answer in the past. But quantitatively, I can give you two example. First is in terms of generating like a completely new sequence of proteins that is also functional. In the past, we have no way to understand how protein sequence related to its function. And then we can only study like existing, for example, enzyme functions of certain species, but we don't really know how to change or enhance their functions by changing the sequence. But currently, the generative model that built upon the foundation model is able to generate completely functional protein sequences that only have 30% similarities to naturally existed sequences of the same enzyme function. So it is just really amazing that AI can completely artificially design, functional molecules even not exist in nature, and with very distinctive, different like homology. This is just beyond our understanding in the past. And the second is like we in many years we were trying to basically solving problems such as protein folding and be able to predict protein binding. And we have very limited data to achieve that very limited accuracy. But with the foundation model, we'll be able to boost those predictions by 5 to 10% across, all domains. So that is also, we can see how that impact the difference. I have analogies just like when we have the human large language model being first studied in like 2015, nobody believed that it would be able to gain intelligence until in 2021 when ChatGPT released the first model that eventually those human language foundation model has a singularity points that it's just all of a sudden be able to have some intelligence like very close to human, and a similar event happens in there's a biological foundation model. At a certain point, there's a turning point that it just certainly after we learn the foundation of all the sequences, and then we will understand their functions just overnight. So that's kind of like that singularity point. Yeah.
Got it. So, but just in order to not be too optimistic, is there any challenges we're facing? What are the main limitations right now that we still have towards those foundation models?
Yeah, there's still limitation. I think the most limitation is right now we're already almost exhausted all the data that is there in the in the life science, like all the protein sequences and all the DNA sequences of all the species on the planet, but we still couldn't like completely understand life. I think the limitation lies in one is the algorithm we use might not, completely align with the biologics theory. It's just a very like general large language model type of algorithm. We apply it to natural language and then we do the same to like biologic sequences. But that might not be the correct approach. There might be very different meanings of the sequences of our life than our, human language that could be able to really encoding life in a very complicated way. So that we need to know. So I think algorithm innovation is definitely a direction to go to overcome that limitation. I think another thing is like still we can kind of predict some outcome of a biological activity, but we're not be able to simulate the process of life. And life is a constantly changing dynamic process for every molecule, every cell, every organism. The whole body is constantly changing. So it's a highly dynamic process. And then the foundation model is not be able to really interpret this entire process. So that would actually require other type of models to really solve that problem. Yeah.
Got it. So now we have talked about the limitations. We have talked about the potential impact. Let's focus on the future. Which part of the drug discovery pipeline could those models disrupt the most?
Yeah, so first of all, in drug discovery, we have a few different steps that are crucial. One is target discovery, another is molecule design, and then the final is clinical study. I would say the foundation model would impact the most is the target discovery because at the first time that we'll be able to basically model all the genome at once and using foundation model and be able to potentially figure out the interactions between genes. Also be able to actually finding the correlations between target and disease in a holistic view. So I think target discovery is definitely the most significant breakthrough that the biologic foundation model would contribute to. Yeah, especially the recently released the cell-based model. And then another one is definitely de novo design. Like I said, like the AI already be able to generate functional protein sequences that is totally different than what's the natural already offer us. So for therapeutic use, we would be able to very specifically generate highly functional chemicals to cure certain disease, even that is not yet invented or discoverable in nature. So I think that's also a could be a big breakthrough in the drug discovery.
Got it. I think we also heard about some other AI approaches, such as generative chemistry and traditional docking. How do you compare the foundation model approach to those AI approaches?
Yeah, so for about 40 years, people have been using traditional like a docking model or molecular dynamics model to simulate like those biologic molecule interactions. But those model has very big limitation is they can only study like a very small systems such as one or two molecule interactions or its own behavior. It cannot really simulate the entire genome or the entire cell or like a matrix of interaction between, different targets and ligands. And also the computational cost of this model is really high. So it's kind of impossible to scale from a single molecule simulation to a multi-molecule and even cellular or even a whole body simulation. But a foundation model, on the contrary, will be able to overcome that limitation. It could simulate or design a single molecule, or it could solve problems of multi-molecule interactions and also a whole body, like a virtual cell, even a virtual human simulation. So I think in that sense, foundation model does provide more comprehensive solutions to solving biological problems.
Got it. So do you think those big foundation models will help us improve the accuracy more or help us speed things up more? I mean, I think both, but I do want to hear you out.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. So we do see the accuracy improvement that, like I said earlier, ways always out. At least there will be 5 to 10% difference on accuracy. And also because of AI in general, it has some training cost, but when you do inference, it is way faster, almost 10,000 times even more faster than conventional like biophysics simulation. So that could allowed us to simulate more candidates like drugs and also to simulate a much larger system.
Got it. That's good to know. So I think another question I have is that how much of those biological big foundation model conversation is hype versus substance? Like, is this gonna happen in the near future?
I think right now it's just the start of a new era because foundation model is a foundation, like literally means. And on the foundation, when people started to build up very specific models with very specific data set, they will be able to create different applications on this foundation layer. And then at that time, they will also be able to realize some of their AI designs into reality by doing experiments in vitro and in vivo. So I would say probably unless the anything goes to in vitro that has been validated from the AI generated subjects that people would still have the doubts if the reality really come. But I think it will be really soon. It's just gonna be happening in the next 1 to 3 years. There you will see a lot of AI generated medicines or biologic examples that have significant impact in the real world.
Got it. Is there any other big signals you are looking for to know this technology is matured and you are ready to use this, or people are ready to accept this?
Yeah, in the past couple of years, the entire industry started to accept AI more with the emergence of, like the human large language model and how it can do from, like general scientific research perspective. And right now, I think since the past couple of weeks, actually, there's a lot of release of the open source, the foundation model, and the data set as being made widely available to the scientific community that would expedite the maturity of this technology. And when everybody started to using it and validate in the wet lab and integrate them in, automated lab facilities, I think it will come to realize and getting more and more mature.
Got it. So we talk about that people started to accept AI generative things more and more during the past few years and will be more in the next few years. How do you see or when do you think we will see the widespread adoption of this technology in the industry, especially in the drug discovery industry?
Yeah, I would say in the next 2 to 4 years, people would widely adopt it. I already see all the major pharma companies and large CRO companies already have their own AI teams, and also small biotech also started to adopt those technology. So definitely, I would say this is the beginning of the new era, and it will happen in a couple of years.
Gotcha. All right. So let's circle back to Ainnocence. How is Ainnocence approaching biological big foundation models? Are you exploring or are you actively building any models?
Yeah, I know since the beginning of our company, we're believing the sequence-based model, which is natively the same technology approach of the foundation model, that we believe that learning the native sequence of life could actually automatically decode what its function and other secrets of life just without building anything actual, such as structural prediction to start with. We think everything lies in the foundation model layer, already having a lot of information. And then we started to adapt models such as SM2, that is the model that Facebook has released. And also we've been widely used those model for a while. And we also build our own foundation model using our own algorithm, try to increase its efficiency and accuracy as well. And we'll release pretty soon. And so, yeah, we believe this is the correct technical direction.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I totally agree. And do you see those models become a core part of Ainnocence workflow?
Yeah, we're gonna put those foundation model in actually all of our models to boost its accuracy and general ability. So absolutely, we're already, completely equipped with it.
Okay, so based on our conversation, in a nutshell, for the biological big models, it has huge potentials. It has a lot of progress during the past few years, but there are still a lot of work that we need to be done before the widespread adoption. Is there any closing thought from you to give to our audience?
Like I mentioned earlier, I hope the entire field, the scientist engineer, could have an open mind for this type of technology. It might be completely different than what we have been trained in school in our undergraduate, graduate study about biology and chemistry. But it actually during our industry service experience on multiple projects, we really see the potential of those type of deep learning, like black box type of model has its magic to really solve some problems that conventional knowledge cannot solve. But at the same time, I think we need to still put our knowledge in biology and chemistry into design like more innovative algorithm and also more applicable apps to make the biologic model useful for our own research and make it completely not just a empty concept or a fancy buzzword. It's actually a very useful tool to understand life and to help us invent medicines to save lives. So I think the biologic foundation model opens a new era of biology that we would rethink, like if there's actually a fundamental mathematics theoretic biology that is actually missing in our textbook and have to be reinvented in the future. And that future is really near. So I'm kind of very excited that I hope young people could also come to study this and then to make contributions to this exciting time of life science that when AI come into play and we will really be able to solve the puzzles of life and really understand deeply how life works and also invent cures to solve all our diseases. Yeah.
That sounds great. Thank you, Dr. Payne, for sharing those valuable thoughts. And thank you, everyone, for joining our webinar. And if this conversation got you thinking, leave a comment, and we would like to see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.